Welcome back, boxing fans. So, this is an early breakdown. I've been super productive. Obviously, Chinese New Year, no family in Taiwan. So, I've been doing all those things you need to do laundry, painting the kitchen, doing the things you do. So, obviously, I'm jumping on early this week, unlike usual. So, don't expect a Monday live talking about the weekend's fights. But this week, you're lucky. So we're obviously coming off of a good weekend of boxing. We had Thursday fights, which obviously is unusual, but it was still entertaining for the most part outside of the main event, where obviously both Lopez and Ortiz both got a lot of criticism thrown towards them because of the lack of action in that fight, which was disappointing. I was hoping that Lopez was going to continue to build his star, but unfortunately, he kind of dropped the ball in that fight. But not to be surprised. People have been talking about him as sort of a roller coaster ride, and that's what he delivered on Thursday. Hopefully, this upcoming week, we're going to get far more exciting fights. Obviously, we also had the UK card from TNT Sports, the old BT Sports, which was a good card. We saw obviously Anthony Yarde jump back into the ring, and obviously we had Hamza Shariz, who may be a future superstar coming out of the UK. If you haven't seen him, go check him out. He's a middleweight fighter, long, great jab, and a guy that looked fantastic getting rid of Liam Williams inside of one round, which was a dominant performance. It'll be interesting to see what happens with him next. Obviously, he called out all the big name UK fighters. So Liam Smith, obviously Chris Eubank, two middleweights currently, obviously with big name attention. The reality is, though, those fights may be out of position for him at this point of his career. But if the Saudis are interested, then the money will be right and those fights are possible. So cross your fingers. If not that, he also talked about Amo Williams. Amo Williams is a great matchup between him and Amo, right? The building of a new superstar middleweight fighter, one American, one from the UK, very different styles. But I don't know the likelihood of that fight actually happening. But let me know in the comment section below if you're a fan of Shiraz. What would you like to see him do next? Today, we're going to be breaking down the upcoming fights, giving our predictions, and talking about what's going to happen. So let's get straight to it. Let's break this down and get into it. A lot of fights this weekend and a lot of really interesting ones. So on Thursday, we have Jojo Diaz, who's jumping back into the ring against Jesus Perez. Obviously, if the things that you and I have heard are true, then this is probably a bounce back fight for Jojo Diaz, who it's being rumored is going to be the next opponent for Bruce Shushu Carrington. And that, my friends, oh no, not Bruce Shushu Carrington, for what's his face, Floyd Schofield, right? That's the rumor going around that Floyd Schofield, who is a Golden Boy fighter, is going to be fighting Jojo Diaz. And obviously, that's a in-house promotional fight between two Golden Boy fighters. That's a great fight for Floyd Schofield. It's definitely a fight to really make his name, kind of like we just saw Keyshawn Davis on Thursday make a great name for himself by beating two-weight world champion Jose Petraza. Dominant performance by him. If Floyd Schofield could do that against Jojo Diaz, that would be equally a sensational victory for him. And that is the fight that apparently is going to happen. I don't know if it's confirmed or not, but obviously Jojo Diaz is fighting this weekend against Jesus Perez, who is 24-5, 18 KOs. And we know the way Golden Boy obviously hopes this pans out. They're hoping Jojo Diaz wins so they can move forward, building a bigger fight between him and upcoming superstar Floyd Schofield. So based on that, you'd have to favor Jojo Diaz with the decision. Jesus Perez, obviously an experienced fighter, a bit of power. So it's not a bad little fight. But, you know, we know who the promotional company favors. So based on that, you kind of have to lean towards him, even though in his last few fights, he has not looked good at all. We also have Ricardo Sandoval, 23-2, 16 KOs on the card, facing Jason Mamaya, 19-1, 10 KOs, a flyweight fight. That's a good little scrap. Two very good fighters, obviously not at the elite level of the flyweight division, but guys that are trying to put themselves in position for world title fights. Two quality fighters, lots of experience, a little bit of power for both of them. So it should be an entertaining fight. Probably out of the two fights, this is probably going to be the one that steals the show. So look forward to Ricardo Sandoval versus Jason Mamaya. I have to favor Sandoval. I just think he's the more experienced fighter. He's got a little bit more power, and I think that's going to be the edge that he needs to come through winning this fight by unanimous decision. And that is obviously the Thursday, February 15th card from DAZN. But let's get to the Friday fight card. We have Shavkat Rakhimov. And if you guys been watching the 130-pound division, you know he's been a staple in that division for a long time. Champion, not a champion, fighting for titles, not having titles, but he's always right in there in the contention for world titles in the IBF rankings. He is currently 17-1-1, 14 KOs, hard puncher, a very aggressive come forward power puncher, not the slickest fighter, can be outworked, can be outslicked, but inevitably he relies on his power eventually breaking you down and getting you out. He's going to be fighting Eduardo Nunez, who is 26-1 with 26 KOs. So on paper, this looks like potentially it could be a shootout. And I expect it to be a shootout. But because of that, you have to favor Rakhimov probably with an early TKO because he is the more experienced fighter, been in with a better level of competition. Definitely is a tough guy with a strong chin. And I expect that he is going to be too much for Eduardo Nunez. So I expect Rakhimov to come through to get the KO or TKO victory, probably inside 8 rounds. Obviously, Nunez, a tough Mexican fighter, is coming to win, coming to get a career-defining victory on his resume, but I don't think this is the fight for it. On the undercard, or sorry, the main event actually is a rematch between Adrian Curiel, 24-4-1, 5 KOs. And don't let that 5 KOs be deceptive. He scored a sensational KO win to become the IBF Junior Flyweight World Champion. And now, obviously, he's getting in there to rematch South African fighter Sivanathe Notsinga. 12-1, 9 KOs. When this fight was set, people figured the South African fighter would use his length and it would eventually break Adrian down and stop him late. But it did not go that way. It was a shocking surprise victory for the Mexican fighter, becoming the IBF champion. And luckily for the South African, he's getting an opportunity to redeem himself in the rematch. It's ironic because I work with quite a few South Africans, and I was talking to my one friend, Sipiwe, and telling him that, one of your countrymen is representing the IBF world champion. And he wasn't familiar with him. So I gave him a little breakdown, said, he's pretty good. He's reminiscent of a lot of the great South African fighters from before. Thin guys, but very long, good reach, good jabs, good skill set, and good power. But then only to tell him the next Monday that his fighter got knocked the fuck out, right? Which was quite the shock and quite the surprise. In the rematch, it'll be interesting to see how he's able to adapt and adjust and see if he's able to get the win the second time around. Usually, in cases like this, the fighter that scored the knockout usually does it faster and better than he did it previously, right? In most cases. And this could be a very reminiscent situation. At this point, I definitely think this is a difficult fight to predict. Guys get caught, right? That's part of boxing. We saw it with Lennox Lewis and many other fighters get caught, get stopped, come back, and score victories in the rematch. Obviously, we even see AJ do it recently against Andy Ruiz as well. I favor the South African fighter. I think, if he's able to control the distance behind his jab and just catch the Mexican fighter coming in, he should be able to make it an easy night. But that's what I thought the first time around, and he got caught and got canceled. So it's a difficult prediction, but I'm going to go with my heart and not my head, and I'm going to pick the South African by unanimous decision in a tough, gritty fight where potentially he might get dropped in that fight. We will see. I'm just curious if the Mexican fighter Adrian Curiel is going to be able to duplicate his fantastic victory the first time around. But nonetheless, that's a great card. Two very good fights. Uh, obviously Rakhimov against Nunez could be a shootout. And then this fight, obviously, the first time around was a shocking decision. So we'll see if we're able to have similar sort of situation in this one. Also, you have Maurizio Lara. Maurizio Lara is always entertaining, right? One of the hardest punchers in boxing, still very young, I think 24, 25 years old, currently 26, 3-1, 19 KOs. I think in his last fight, the biggest problem with him is he seems to be outgrowing the division, and his endurance and stuff just did not look good. He wasn't as aggressive as he had been previously. And I think even in the fight prior to that, we noticed a little bit of that. In this fight, he's going to be fighting at 130 pounds against Daniel Lugo, who is 27-2 with 18 KOs. And I think him moving to this division should benefit him in that obviously his endurance should be better. Obviously, he's going to come in and be able to be the old version of him, not a weight trained version of him, if that truly is the situation. We've seen it quite a few times, so it wouldn't be a shock or surprise if that was the case here. You just stayed in the division too long. Why? Well, because there was big money opportunities and you didn't want to give up the cash. Understandable. Now potentially him moving to 130, that's great. 130 needs more depth. Obviously, Navarrete is potentially moving up to 135, leaving that WBO title vacant. So maybe that's a direction that Lara can move towards. But nonetheless, I think this is going to be an entertaining fight as well. Lugo, obviously, 18 KOs and 27 wins, a little bit of power, uh, 2 losses on his resume. So this fight could be very entertaining. We'll see what version of Maurizio Lara we get. Also, you have Israel Rodriguez, 30-5, 20 KOs, facing Ramon Cardenas, 23-1. 12 KOs. As I said, I think Lara is going to win his fight. And I think obviously him coming in a bigger weight division, being stronger, better endurance, able to throw the punches that he is known for doing, I expect that he's going to stop Lugo probably inside 6 rounds. That's my prediction. Let me know in the comment section below, what do you think about that fight and what do you think the outcome is going to be? As far as Israel Rodriguez, I think Raymond Cardenas is going to stop him inside 8 rounds to move forward. And this is a pro box fight. So the good thing about pro box, if you haven't watched pro box fights, the matchmaking is great. They're always very entertaining fighters, maybe not the biggest names. Obviously, pro box doesn't have the biggest budget, but they really matchmake really well. So the fights always tend out to be really competitive fights, really back and forth. So no surprise that this fight is probably going to be similar. But I'm going to pick Raymond Cardenas by TKO. You also have Jesus Saracho, 13-1-1, 11 KOs, facing Starling Castillo, 18-1-1, 13 KOs, right? Like this fight, obviously, just sounds like it's going to be great. Both guys, only 1 loss, 1 draw. Both guys have quite a bit of power. So this fight should be also very entertaining. Make sure you check it out. I definitely think this fight is going to be entertaining as well. With this, it's hard to predict who you think is going to win. You have Saracho, you have Castillo, both tough Mexican fighters. Obviously, a lot on the line. The winner of this obviously moves forward into bigger money fights. So the question is, who is going to pull this out? I'm going to pick Saracho by split decision victory. And then we also have on the next fight, Lucas Ponce de Silva, 7-0, 7 KOs. He's fighting Efetorab Apochi, 11-2, 11 KOs. Cruiserweight fight. Jesus Christ, man. These matchups, they're entertaining. It's hard to predict who's going to win. But I will go with the 7-0 fighter. Obviously, he's never lost. The other guy, Apochi, has 2 losses, even though he's obviously dangerous. 11 KOs in 11 victories. But I look forward to Lucas Ponce del Silva getting his 8th win and his 8th KO, stopping Apochi in 3 rounds. I definitely think this fight's probably going to be a shootout. It's a cruiserweight fight. Probably the first guy to land something significant is going to be the guy that walks away with the victory. Another very good fight after that is Joe Sean James, 8-0 with 2 draws, 5 KOs, is fighting Devin Alexander's brother, Vaughn Alexander, 18-8-1, 11 KOs. Don't let those 8 losses throw you off. Vaughn Alexander's a tough, strong, aggressive, hard-punching fighter, but he's been put in with everyone. His resume has really been hard, right? He hasn't had any easy touches. He goes from one tough opponent to another tough opponent right after one another. So he's taken quite a few competitive losses in his career. At this point, he is getting a little old in the tooth. This is an 8th rounder. Obviously, he's in with another up-and-comer, but a guy that already has 2 draws, right? Showing that he can be beat. So I'm going to pick Vaughn Alexander by split decision in this one. I'd love to see Alexander get another win. He deserves it. He's one of the guys that, is used consistently to sort of showcase younger up-and-coming fighters. So it's great to give him an opportunity to sort of, get some victories on his resume. 19-8-1, 11 KOs sounds much better than 18-9. Then we get to obviously the big fight card this weekend on ESPN. ESPN once again putting out another solid card. And this is a solid card. We'll go over it and let me know in the comment section below, what do you think about these fights? We have O'Shaquie Foster facing Abraham Nova. O'Shaquie Foster is defending his WBC 130-pound title. He's just signed with ESPN, obviously leaving his last promotional company, which kind of did him dirty by making him defend his title in Mexico, right? Not the easiest place to go. A very, anti-U territory to go to, and to go there in that fight, which was one of the fights of the year, to scrape it through with actually a last-minute stoppage in the 12th round. Fantastic performance by O'Shaquie Foster, obviously coming through toughness to get the victory. He's going to be fighting Abraham Nova. This is obviously ESPN giving a much more of a tee-up shot, right? They're giving him a name opponent. Abraham Nova, 23-1, 16 KOs. Probably most well known for his knockout loss to Robsy Ramirez at 126 pounds. Now he's going to be fighting at 130 pounds. So he should be stronger, more resilient. Obviously, he's a pretty tall guy as well. So draining down to 126, that could have some negative impacts on his overall punch endurance or punch resistance. For Foster, we know what he is, currently 21-2, 12 KOs. He's not a knockout puncher. He is a slick boxer who controls distance behind a long jab. And we saw him win the world title by out-jabbing a jabber and controlling the distances against a guy who usually controls the distance. Obviously, against a tougher, aggressive volume puncher, he struggled. With Abraham Nova, he's kind of in between, more of a boxer puncher, not really a volume puncher. He's going to try to establish his jab and try to land big shots through the middle. Hawker Mustangs in the house. Did you watch the Super Bowl, Mr. Newton? I did not. But I do hear that Mahomes is the winner. So I guess that's good news for Kansas City, bad news for San Francisco. Even though I was favoring San Francisco. But, what is it? San Francisco, the something treat. What's that food that they used to advertise? Oh, Rice-A-Roni. Yeah, Rice-A-Roni, the San Francisco treat. But yeah, I heard Mahomes. It sounds like Mahomes dominated. They're talking about him being only second behind Tom Brady. I mean, it's funny how fast people forget the great history of quarterbacks in the NFL, right? I mean, come on. The NFL has had a long string of great dominant QBs. So the accolades Mahomes is getting right now, it seems to be a little bit of hype, but you let me know. I haven't watched football really that serious in probably 4 or 5 years. So I'm probably not the best person to talk to about it. But yes, Oshaki Foster, Abraham Nova. I think it's an easy prediction. I think Oshaki Foster is going to beat him by unanimous decision to retain his WBC 130-pound title. They won it in overtime, back-to-back Super Bowl champions, the first time in a decade. That's great. Has it been that long, really, eh? Congratulations, Kansas City Chiefs. I guess what's her face got a lot of viewing time. Uh, what's her face? Swift, who's the singer. Apparently, she's a big Chiefs fan, and a lot of controversy has been kicked up because she's getting a lot of attention. Did she perform in the Super Bowl? I figured that would have been perfect for her. Taylor Swift, that's her. Uh, yeah, I'm sure her face was on the camera probably more than Mahomes was. But yeah, so I have Oshaki Foster with the win. It'll be interesting to see what he does next. Obviously, that Navarrete unification fight seems to be off the table. It looks like Navarrete is going to go to 135 to try to fight for that vacant WBO title to become a four-weight world champion. I mean, that is legacy, man, right there. To become a four-weight world champion, you know, more power to him. Harder Coils in the house. Cheers. Welcome, buddy. Uh, and obviously, for Navarrete moving to 135, that is where the money is, right? He moves to that division, whether he gets a Tank Davis, Shakur, or a Lomachenko fight, or even possibly, a Keyshawn Davis fight. Those fights obviously equate to far more money than what he's going to be getting at 130 pounds. Tom Brady is way above him, but I'm not a big football fan at all. I didn't watch any games except the Super Bowl this year. Yeah, in the last few years, I've been the same. I can't stand Taylor Swift. She's killing it, man. And she's a really nice person. The amount of money that she gave back to all the people that helped put on her tour, I got nothing but respect for her. She really treats the people that work for her very, very well. Obviously, profit sharing, I think, is important. People worked hard to make sure you look good and had everything work out perfectly. And it's nice that she shared some of that profit with them because obviously she made shitloads of cash, right? I think, isn't she the richest performer today? And I couldn't name one song of hers. I'm not much of a Taylor Swift fan, but nonetheless, props to her. If she hears this, leave me a super chat. Come on, Taylor. But yes, Oshaki Foster. Then let's talk about some of the other fights on this card. I don't know who this guy is. Maybe you guys can let me know if you do. Brian Chevalier, 21-1, 16 KOs. The opponent, or the man he's fighting, Andreas Cortez, 20-0, 11 KOs. I know him. He's obviously a guy that has been getting quite a bit of push as a top up and coming fighter in the U.S. Mexican American, I suppose. Junior lightweight, so 130 pounder. Maybe this is going to be Oshaki Foster's next opponent, right? The winner of this fight, Cortez. Cortez Oshaki Foster, in-house, 130-pound ESPN fight. The good thing about Cortez, he's an up-and-comer, right? And now he gets an opportunity to win a world title by beating Foster. Can he do it? He's a volume puncher, so he's very similar to the guy that gave Oshaki Foster a very tough test in his last fight. The question is he better? He's been hyped more, but I don't know if that translates to actually being better. But we're going to get to see him on the other undercard versus this kid, uh, Chevalier. Chevrier. How do you say the car? 21-1, 16 KO. So a bit of power, but already one loss, one draw. So, he does know how to lose. What's that? Satin. Taylor Swift endorsed Joe Biden and she worships Satan. Oh, Satan. I was going to say she worships Saturn. Well, it's no surprise that anybody with her accolades and stuff worships Satan. Isn't that what people always say about, famous Hollywood people or singers and people like that? They sell their soul for fame and glory. You know, teach their own. You make a decision, and now she's living in it, and later she will pay. What do I have to say? Satan's never asked me to sell my soul, prick. And I'm probably easily manipulated, fucking cocaine and whores, and I'm probably all over it. Let's do it. How much can I get? Can't see the comments. Really? I don't know what to tell you, buddy. I'm reading them, so you can just listen, kick back, enjoy, have a beer. On the undercard, we also have Bruce Carrington, who was my prospect of the week a couple weeks ago. This kid looks good, man. Bruce Carrington, it's hard not to like him. The kid's down to earth, very well spoken, and looks like he's really getting better and better fight after fight after fight. Currently 10-0, 6 KOs. He's fighting Bernard Torres, 18-1, 8 KOs. Obviously, they're putting him in with a kid with some experience, but not that much pop, right? They don't want to risk him too much. Having a coffee. What time is it? I'm drinking Trevi lemon water. Oh, maybe I should do like this. Trevi can endorse my brand. Here, Trevi. I'm a sellout, but that's okay. But Bruce Carrington, obviously I expect him to get a sensational victory against this kid, Bernard Torres. I don't know who Bernard Torres is. I don't think it's a real big step up fight. It's kind of, I think, similar type of opponents that he's been in with consistently. Obviously, it's a 10 rounder. And as we said, he is somebody the Top Rank is pushing. And obviously, the kid does great interviews. As I said, very well spoken, really down to earth, right? So he's very marketable, and we'll see what he does. Obviously, he needs to get the kind of victory that we just saw Abdullah Mason and Keyshawn Davis got last weekend. If he's able to do that, look at Top Rank. They're just building up a great young stable of up and coming American fighters. That's because Google always removes my comments. They remove it, but then I see it. Every time I say something that the communist Jews do not like, it gets removed. Well, you just said that, and that's still there. I left a comment on X, which is supposed to be open, and my comment was erased, and I didn't say anything bad. I said bitch, but I didn't actually say it. I wrote bi and then blah 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 blah. So I'm saying bitch, but I didn't actually say the word. It's not there. But yeah, they took that down. I'm like, what? Bullying? Really? Bullying. Did you see the comment prior? Okay, whatever. But then we also have and this might be a terrible performance. Delante Tiger Johnson. He's been training and working out with Teofimo Lopez. So if that's the case, expect a career worst performance from him on this card, because who knows what he's learning from Teo. How to not cut off the ring, how to not use a jab, how to not use volume, how to moan and groan more than actually throw punches and ignore the body. So yeah, we'll see what Delante Tiger Johnson does. Andre's in the house. You better not duck me, son. I ain't ducking no one, kid. But yeah, Delante Tiger Johnson is fighting Paulo Goldino, 13-7-2, 9 KOs, an 8 rounder. So, right, just more work for a young fighter that Top Rank is hoping to develop. At this point, Tiger Johnson, he's long, right? Obviously got very good amateur pedigree, but doesn't seem to have much pop, much power at this point. Uh, and stylistically, he's not one of the more exciting fighters I've watched from this young stable of ESPN fighters. But let me know what you think about him. Then we got a kid that I've never heard of, Yuri Sedino, 7-0-1, 6 KOs, fighting Antonio Todd, 16-9-9. Obviously, Sedino is another up and coming prospect for ESPN, a middleweight. Middleweight is a good division to go towards. There's nobody there, right? It's a weak division with no depth. If you're a young, exciting fighter, you hope that you're a middleweight because at least it's going to be easy to get a world title. And then we got overrated Italian heavyweight Guido Vanello, 11-1-1, 9 KOs, facing Moses Johnson, 11-1-2, 8 KOs in an 8-rounder. Guido gets hit too easy, right? He gets hit too easy, and he doesn't look like he's got that kind of upside. But we'll see. We'll see if Guido's made improvements. Obviously, after taking your first loss and then obviously having a draw as well in 10 fights, you have to ask yourself, what aren't I doing? Because you know they're not moving him too fast. So the question is, what does he need to do to put himself at the level that he wants to be at? Because so far, he does not look that good. We need to reschedule our fight. I have broken ribs, 4-wheel accident. Broken ribs? Can you 4-wheel now? Isn't it like 6 feet of snow in fucking Quebec? Shouldn't you be like riding a fucking snowmobile? I just looked at my sister. She's living in Nova Scotia. The fucking snow is like this tall. It's about 4 feet high. Imagine shoveling that shit. Jesus Christ. There's your workout for the month. Hawker says Tucker Carlson wears a red bracelet. And what does that mean? He's communist? I just think it's funny all the negativity that he got because he interviewed Putin. You know, this is the problem with free speech in America. You know, people are calling him like well, what's the word when you're anti your country? It's like, why is he anti his country by interviewing Putin? As an American, I would want to know what Putin has to say from Putin's mouth, not what CNN told me. And obviously, you don't believe everything that's said, but at least you get a sense of what's going on from both sides as opposed to just fucking propaganda being shoved down your throat. But yeah, no, bro. Here in Quebec, we had more water than snow this year. It's weird. That is fucking weird. If you've never been to Quebec, people, it's fucking cold as fucking hell and snowy too. That's why French Canadians are so miserable. That and other reasons. Sean is a hardcore fan. Hardcore fan of what? I am a hardcore fan. And Hawker Mustang, did you subscribe to my football channel? Come on, buddy. You said you want me to start a Liverpool channel. I started it. So now I expect you to be my first subscriber. Where are you? Sean on Liverpool. Already got some content up. Oh, is that a religious thing? Wow. You know, I don't know anything about that shit. I keep myself far away from religion. That's why I stay out of fucking Quebec. Crazy Catholics, tabernacle. You know, religion only fucking divides the people. That's all it does, right? Religion was put in place specifically to divide people. So, you know, people are more than free to worship whatever God they want, but I stay away from it myself. Even though I do have my Great Buddha tattoo, Amitofo. But that's it, people. That is the breakdown for boxing this upcoming weekend. Obviously, the biggest fight is O'Shaquie Foster, Abraham Nova. That's a big fight. We'll also have Mauricio Lara, which will be an exciting fight for as long as it lasts. The great small fight at junior flyweight between Mexican world champion Adrian Carrell and South African fighter Notstinga. The rematch, which should be great. Nobody expected the first fight to end the way it did. Rakhimov fighting Eduardo Nunez, which should be quite the back and forth. And Jojo Diaz is back in the ring as well. So overall, there's a lot of stuff to pay attention to. I don't like soccer. So why do you tell me to start a soccer channel? Bastard. I've been shoveling dirt for the last year. Shoveling dirt. It's snowing dirt? Or is that a job? I've heard people do that job, construction and whatnot. Speaking of that, I need to get in my kitchen and paint it, but I'm procrastinating. I've done my third batch of laundry in 3 days, and I started editing my boxing videos. Did you guys watch my videos? Did you see my editing skills? Hey, come on, put your hands together. Give a brother a shout out. I'm sitting down on CapCut doing some editing. So, obviously, it's just the beginning. So my editing is mediocre to poor, but obviously, the more you do it, the more you'll do improve. So, look forward to progression. Soon I'm going to be like Ring IQ. Tucker was wearing a red bracelet when he interviewed Putin. I don't even know why that matters. Who cares? Is Putin Jewish? I figure Putin would be anti-Judaism. But there we go. So ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, remember to subscribe to my new football channel, Sean on Football or Sean on Liverpool. The more, the merrier. And give my videos that I've edited a thumbs up. Show your appreciation for my hard work and effort. Poor me. It's my holiday, my vacation, and I'm slaving away. Slaving away. But anybody have any boxing comments? What do you guys think about? Take care, buddy. Cheers, Andre. Does anyone have anything to say about the whole Lopez Ortiz fight and how it played out? Who did you have winning? As I said, I think Ortiz won it. He was more effective in his style. I felt Lopez was disappointing. Very disappointing. And also, apparently, tomorrow, Canelo Alvarez is going to announce his May fight. So, who do you think Canelo Alvarez is going to fight? I would not be surprised if it's Charlo, but at the same time, I don't care. It doesn't bother me one way or the other. My neighborhood sunk in a backhoe in the mud behind my property, and I'm trying to fill that crater in. Can you imagine an Ortiz Shakur fight? Fuck. Luckily, nobody's going to pay for that pay-per-view. Right? That's a fight people can completely fucking pass over and ignore. No one's going to be too upset if they don't watch that. But, luckily we won't have to. It'll be probably interesting to see who Ortiz is thrown in with next. Probably an up-and-comer, right? Shakur versus Ortiz is the high school gymnasium. I remember when you used to make videos with your black dog with the light off. The good old days. The good old days. My poor black dog. Now I just have this crazy poser. What the fuck is that? What are you doing, Lily? Crotch shot? Should we open an OnlyFans page for you? Lily's OnlyFans page. Oh, who's a good girl? I know, life is tough. Ooh, hoo, hoo. But thanks everyone for jumping in. I will obviously be making more content this week as we progress when topics pop up and anything of interest materializes. But until then, I'm probably going to be spending some time making some videos for my Liverpool channel. So check it out. Maybe you don't like football, whatever. You can still subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. Give a brother a thumbs up. So have a good week, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the Super Bowl. I did not watch, but congratulations to Kansas City and Mahomes and Taylor Swift. No ass, but nice tits. Peace out, everyone.